You probably know it by now that a lot of people do not like Fallout 76. And while this isn't a review, this is sort of my first, I wouldn't even say impressions, this is my first review of the earliest version of this game, I suppose, because this is a game that's going to evolve over time, it's going to change, it's going to add features, and I think I will return to it fairly often and give updates or sort of new versions of the review. But having said all that, I feel like I err much more on the positive side to this game than a lot of other people who have reviewed it or played it. However, there are some fundamental issues. So unfortunate and so ingrained in some places that they can fix and they can't. But beyond the issues that currently lie there, some of the design choices, some of the overall structure of the game that cannot be fixed, there is a game here that is fascinating, rewarding in a lot of ways, but also not respectful of your time and others. Just sort of weird things that was done that maybe not have landed the intended way. But regardless, I'm going to jump in straight away with why I've really enjoyed my time with the game so far, and that's just the world itself. I think if you play the Fallout games for the stories and the people you meet along the way and the sort of the choices you have and how you can change the world, you're going to be bitterly disappointed in this game. But given that this is an online game, it's been told that it's an online game from the beginning, your choices were always going to be limited, but maybe you just didn't think they'd be so limited as they don't matter, or you actually don't have a single choice in the game. For me, I went in wanting to explore this big open world, not even necessarily interested in the story per se, but actually wanting to know about this world, because we've always been in the Fallout world a couple hundred years after the bombs fell, and everything essentially is re-established and there's a new world in place and you're just exploring it, and it existed long before you were born and it'll last long after you're dead essentially. But here you're on the front lines and you start with a basically empty open world, and you learn a lot about what happened to the survivors as well as the days before the bombs fell, a lot more than in other games. And this is done mostly through holotapes and VO, which is performed really well, I do have to say. I think everything is written really well, it's performed really well, and to me it always sort of just added like a little bit of foundation to this world. It didn't, like I said, it didn't have the same power or gravitas to the main storyline or campaign in one of these games, but instead every little thing I found, every new location and the holotapes and the emails and the letters I picked up, it just added another brick onto the foundation that is the West Virginia post-apocalyptic wasteland, and that was fine for me. That did enough to it. However, despite all my enjoyment with the world itself and just learning a little bit more about it, the multiplayer aspect to me is not necessary so far in my experience, or not the core reason to play it. So I think that's where this game kind of falls in a weird middle ground, because I don't mind that there's not a full-on single player story. I really love the open world, but also the fact that this game is online, just I don't really care too much about it. The best part of it is actually the sort of the co-op side of things. So as much as I don't really care, I don't mind going out in the world by myself and running around and learning and visiting new places and learning new things. It's really enjoyable with other people, just going around and being able to just like I'm sure everyone who plays Fallout, or at least the newer Fallout games, just always have those emergent stories of like coming across this town and then being sort of bombarded by ghouls, or sort of finding the super mutant den, or an area full of death claws, and you just started these stories, you talk to people. Now you get to experience it with other people, which I think is awesome. And I think that's sort of the best way to play this game. By a mile, the best way to play this game is probably just get a couple of friends and just explore the wasteland. Just explore and enjoy it. There is, however, a base building mechanic to it, and it is better than Fallout 4's, but it's not the reason I play Fallout. So for here, it's basically not the reason I've played this either. It hasn't bothered me, but it also hasn't intrigued me to build a really cool base with defense turrets and water purifiers and generators and make a lovely living room and bedroom and all those things. I just did it because the quest told me to, and I went out and enjoyed the world, and I built it up a little bit, but not to the extent where the game's probably expecting me to do it. And I don't think I will, at least not right now. Right now I'm getting all my enjoyment from just finding these bots with these characters integrated into them and all these weird little places, and just, I don't know, there's something to this game. There's a foundation to me in place that is excellent. Like, I mean, it's potentially one of the best open world experiences I've ever had. But there's a lot of beyond sort of your potential lack of motivation. I think that's sort of one thing, is I don't really have a motivation to do everything and level up all the way and all that, but I do want to see as much as possible of this world, and I think that's a bit of a difference. There's a bit more of a casual nature to it, at least with me, than other Fallout games. In other Fallout games, like, there's betrayals and twists, and I'm like, I gotta see this through. I gotta revenge, and I've got to avenge, I should say, and I've got to find out what this character done and why they did it. That's not there. So it is down to your own sort of interest to explore the world, whether alone or with friends. There's PvP aspects to it. I haven't even touched them because they don't matter. They really don't matter. But I think, honestly, probably to me the biggest downfall to this game right now is that there's parts of it that's just not integrated that well. Like the PvP, I think base building it's fun for some, not fun for others. So that's sort of middle ground. But the biggest issue to me, honestly, is the technical issues and the optimization problems. It's not great. It really isn't. It's frustrating. It's underwhelming. Visually, the atmospheres and the environment are pretty cool. Like, I have to say, like, standing up on a hill and having that sort of depth of field in place in the blurred, like, area way off in the distance, but you know you can get there and all that. Like, that's always been really cool about these Bethesda games, and I think it's even better here. But man, it can run awful sometimes. And the thing about it is, once you get up close to visually, the game is not great. So it should not run as bad as it does for what it looks like, and they need to fix that. I've had just a couple of sort of freeze ups and crashes. And the thing about it is, it does feel like an early access game in some sense, but it also is a game that's going to be support for months and months to come, and that's expected. So the game will improve, which is why I said at the beginning of this video, and I'll say it again, is chances are this isn't going to be the only video I do of this game, just because it'll change over time. I think it's okay right now. Like, you'll see the score that I give it right now is is based on my fun. I think sort of that's one of the things is the game's so massive and what you can do in it, you can ignore the parts that you don't particularly like, and it doesn't, to me, hamper my enjoyment of the game. That being said, there's probably parts to the game for you that is an absolute deal breaker, and that's also fine. It's one of those unique instances with a game like this where there's so much to it and there's so many different directions it goes, where there's some things you can ignore and there's some things that you can't. For now, I am enjoying my time with it. I've also started to feel a little bit of a drain on me. Like, I don't feel as enthused to go into the world as much as I did when I started playing, but I think it's better than what a lot of people think. And I will play a little bit more. Well, I'll play a lot more, but for now, yeah, I think the score I give it is sort of reflective of how I feel, but probably not how everyone else feels.